Hi my loves, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. Today we are starting another reading vlog. It has just come into winter here and it is absolutely miserable weather outside. It is just reading weather though, like it's pouring rain, you just want to be sitting inside reading all day. So that is exactly what we're going to be doing this week. Because it is quite cold outside, I thought the perfect genre to be reading this month would be fantasy. I haven't been reading that much fantasy recently, but I've just been absolutely craving it for the past few kind of weeks. So I thought, let's just dive into it. Let's go head first. We'll just read fantasy books for a week completely. And I have a few on my radar. We'll definitely be dipping into some like things outside my comfort zone, a lot of romances, some high fantasy. But yes, things outside my comfort zone is like the main point that we're going to be making. I say that because I am currently reading the Zodiac Academy. I put this on my TBR for June because if you saw my video, I did like Instagram chooses my reads and I was scrolling through and that was the first book I came across. So I added it to my TBR and then I got curious. Then I was like, this is like, am I going to like this? So I ultimately started it because it is on Kindle Unlimited and some thoughts are going on. I'm very, very early days. I'm like 10-15% in. But anyway, we're going to be reading that. I also know that I really want to read Mistborn. I read this a few years ago and I really, really want to do a reread just because I feel like I'll understand it so much more now that I'm older and I've read a lot more fantasy. And I really want to continue this series. So I thought to like kind of do a deep dive into this and refresh my memory and just read it slowly, look at all the intricate details in this. Very excited for it. It is also quite thick. So we've got two very like different books on the horizons at the moment, and honestly there are so many other books I would love to get to this week. We'll see how we go. I might even ask some of you what your favorite fantasy books are and read some of them because I'd like to stretch out my kind of recommendations. I've kind of been in a very narrow fantasy world at the moment and want to broaden my horizons a little bit. I thought this would be the perfect week to just absolutely immerse ourselves in some new fantastical worlds. And without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to go read the Zodiac Academy, get a little bit more into that, and I might start Mistborn, might start it as an audiobook. I'm not exactly sure, but we'll see how we go. I'm about 30% through the Zodiac Academy. I have a lot of thoughts. I went into this knowing it wasn't going to be like a 5-star read for me. It's definitely a series that you either absolutely love or absolutely hate. And I've seen a lot of people say, especially my comments, that they really hated it, but it's like seriously addictive. And I'm definitely getting that vibe. I will say I'm not loving how it's written. I'm kind of struggling to, just vibe with the tone of writing. And that's a personal thing, I guess. It just depends on your preference. And there are so many like very cheesy kind of Wattpad lines in this that's just making me go, okay. So for that reason, I'm not loving it, but I am getting like, I'm addicted. I'm very addicted to the plot. I want to see what's happening. And it's also very easy to read. Like you can kind of just mindlessly read. Like you don't have to pay a lot of attention to kind of the political world of this, the setting. Like you can kind of just be there for the vibes and the characters, which is fun. It's fun. Sometimes you need a good old romancy like that. Do I think I will be able to commit to like this whatever, like 12 book series including novellas? I don't know how long it is. I only just realized that there's like heaps of novellas for this series. I don't know if I can commit to that. I'd like to think I could, but you know, I'm starting it. I'm just getting a taste of it. And I'm intrigued. I'm kind of confused. I don't know what to think. I'm also listening to Mistborn, although I'm really bad at listening to audiobooks if I'm going to be honest. I'll probably end up reading that because it's probably easier. But yeah, I'm trying to listen to Mistborn. It's going good. Obviously, this is my reread of Mistborn, but I can't really remember a lot. I kind of remember the significant plot points, but like not the kind of bits in between. And I just love Brandon Sanderson's writing, and I really want to like really remember everything before I go into his next book, because I feel like if you're gonna read a complicated fantasy book and you need to pick up on all the Easter eggs that are going to be present in the next few books. And I've just heard incredible things about this trilogy, and I believe there are a few like add-ons to it. So I'm very excited to like get back into that world, re-immerse myself in his world. I would also love to be able to move on to like the Way of Kings duology, series. I think it's a series after this, and just really get to know the Cosmere a little bit better, because I'm very much a beginner in that area, though I would love to not be. I am actually not sure what books I'm going to be reading for the rest of this vlog. After Mistborn, I'll probably lean towards another romantasy just to kind of freshen my mind again, although I don't have a lot of romantasies on my shelf. I'm realizing as I say that a lot of them are more high fantasy books, but you know, we'll see what we can find. I might even ask you guys on Instagram some of your favorite romantasy reads, and I might take a suggestion from you. Although I am like craving holding a physical book. I've been reading too many books on my Kindle recently, and I need the paperback. That's something about me. I'm such a paperback girly. I prefer paperbacks over Kindles, although Kindles are great to travel with, and like if you're in bed, that's when I like Kindles. Anyway, I'm gonna keep reading this, and then I might read some Mistborn. I am not someone who typically reads 2 books at a time, so this is a little bit overwhelming for me, but I'm trying my best. I have made quite a dent into both of these books. I ended up reading this physically a lot. I'm only 168 pages in, but I am taking my time with it because the first time I read this, I feel like I was a bit too young to fully grasp the concept in this. I do think it is YA, but it is quite a complex magic system and political system in this. Definitely do go in knowing that. We are following our characters as they try and overthrow the final empire. We're kind of set in a world where the bad guy has won and the world is in misery. Everyone is living in just absolute like desperation. But there are still a few little glimpses of hope, and this kind of group of people come together to rebel against the Lord of the Empire. It's kind of a high story and very action plot based, but I will say the magic system is so confusing to me personally. Basically, there are these people called Mistings and Mistborns. Mistings are people who have one particular power, and Mistborns are people who have access to multiple types of power. This power often comes, well not often, it does come from particular metals. Different metals can kind of promote their different powers. So like you can alter emotions with them. Quite crazy and quite detailed and amazing. And I am absolutely loving my time reading this again. I don't know if I'll listen to the audiobook a little bit as well, like on and off, but like absolutely obsessed with this book. I just think it is so great and so cleverly written, and it is just a really great place to start for Brandon Sanderson. Anyway, hate the fact that it's not floppy at all. Like it's a brick. For all my spine cracking girlies, I'm sorry. I'm like absolutely slaughtering it. So I just got up to part 2 for this. Very exciting. Now, Zodiac Academy. Oh my gosh, okay. Look, very mixed feelings. I don't think a book has made me feel this conflicted in a long time. What am I? I'm definitely over 50%. I'm 56% through. And look, I don't know. I'm not loving it, that's for sure. But is it like really addictive? Yes. I don't know what it is about it. Like but something, I can't stop reading it. Like something about it just makes me not want to put it down. It's definitely a good kind of brain break for Mistborn. Like they're kind of balancing each other out. But yeah, this is just, there are some lines in this that just make me cringe so bad and just put the book down, because I'm like, I actually can't do this. I feel like I'm reading a Wattpad fan fiction. But as I said, cannot put it down. Like cannot put it down for the life of me. Characters I'm not really connecting to. I'm struggling in that aspect. And also the romance in this is a bully romance. Not my cup of tea, that's for sure. So I'm struggling in that aspect as well. Yeah, conflicted, very conflicted. Will I continue reading this? Probably, because I kind of need to know what happens now. Do I think I will continue the rest of the series? Doubtful. At this stage, very doubtful. And I feel like 50% is a good amount of the way through to kind of start to form opinions. Ignore my like wardrobe, I just realized it was open. That's my little update for now. I'm gonna keep reading. I might listen to the audiobook a little bit more for Mistborn. Not sure, but I'll update you soon. I hate to say it, but I do not think I belong in the Zodiac Academy world. Let's just start with that. I am struggling with this book now. For a while it was quite addictive. Now I'm just getting a little bit bored. It's fine. As I said, very like entertaining, but I am just connecting with none of the characters. I don't think I've even said what this book is about because I went in completely blind. Basically, we are following 2 twins and they have a Gemini star sign. I know about star signs, so I know that the Gemini is the twin star sign, and I don't know why, but that's cringing me out a little bit. Anyway, we're following them. They figure out that they actually have magic in their blood. They get told that they have to come to the Zodiac Academy and their parents, which they thought were dead and they were orphaned, but they were actually the king and queen, royals in this kind of new magical world that they were unaware of. So they have to go to Zodiac Academy and graduate successfully to become like the rightful heirs to that power, riches, all that kind of stuff. It's an interesting scene. It's an interesting scenario, and I feel like magic school usually draws me in so much, but this I'm struggling with. I really don't think I'm a Zodiac girl, if that makes sense, which I really thought I would be. I've also been interested in star signs from like day one, like when I was young. I just find them interesting. So I was like, oh my God, star signs in like a fantasy setting. It's really not drawing to me. I've got about 10% left, 15% maybe. I really don't think I'm going to be continuing this series, which just... I'm not surprised, honestly. If I'm going to be honest, I'm not that surprised, but I'm going to go finish it now and then I'll update you. So I finished Zodiac Academy and boy, was that a ride. Definitely not my favorite book that I've read. I feel like it was really addictive, and I was kind of willing to look past all the cringiness kind of comments in there and stuff, just because, you know, it's a good addictive fantasy. But it honestly got to a point where I was just like, I don't think I can look past this cringiness anymore. It's starting to just like implement the way I can't like connect to any characters, anything like that. So I did finish it, but I gave it a 2.5 stars. It just didn't do anything for me, if I'm completely honest. It is a very rainy day outside. It is in the afternoon now. I have my cup of tea. I just thought I'd continue reading Mistborn. But yes, the Zodiac Academy is not a series I will be continuing, I don't think. I just don't like the whole vibe of it, and I didn't really like the whole bully romance that was going on. I just couldn't get behind that. Yeah, that's something I just cannot support. But anyway, is what it is. It's not for everyone, that's for sure. I think it's either like you love or you hate it kind of book. So makes a lot of sense that, you know, I was one of the didn't like it kind of people. Anyway, as for Mistborn, I am very much making a dent. I am halfway through. Maybe just over halfway through. Absolutely loving it. There are so many details that I'm picking up this time because I'm just really taking my time with it. I'm really quite reading it really slowly, and so many details that I just feel like I missed out on when I first read it, and I kind of was just trying to get through it as quick as possible, and reading it slowly like makes you very much appreciate it. So I'm going to sit down and just kind of binge this, see how much we can get done. I'm up to page 327, and there are, I think, just over 600 pages in here, so I've still got a little bit to go. But yeah, absolutely loving it. This is a series I will be continuing. I will definitely be continuing this series, and hopefully very soon, maybe in one of my like finishing every series I'm in the middle of vlogs. If you haven't read Brandon Sanderson, or if you haven't read Mistborn, I highly, highly recommend it. Mistborn is a great like entry point. I don't know if I said this before, but it's a great entry point to all of Brandon Sanderson's works. He has all these series that are all interconnected in this universe called the Cosmere, and I'm kind of slowly working my way through it, but wanted to kind of get a better understanding of Mistborn so I fully get like the best experience. Our main protagonist is attending balls in beautiful gowns just so she can like get information and everything like that. It is just so fun. It really is just so fun. So I'm gonna keep reading and I'll give you a bit of an update later. About 100 pages left of this. I'm absolutely loving it, of course, and it's just towards the end there is just so much adrenaline. Like you need to keep reading. It's so addictive, which I feel like is kind of sometimes rare for a high fantasy. Like sometimes with my high fantasies, like yes, I'm very like immersed in the storyline and stuff, but they're quite like slow moving, and it's very much about like, I don't know, building blocks to the story. But this one I feel like just has so much adrenaline attached to it. Like the plot is just so fast paced and intricate, and I need to see like if everything ties together in the end. I'm very much loving it. I am so close to finished. I am going to sit down and try and finish it now. And I'll see how I go. I finished Mistborn last night. I absolutely loved it, just as I remembered. It was even better than I remembered, honestly. I loved it so much more on the reread, just because you pick up like more little details, because this is a very intricate plot, and you can definitely read it without like, you know, hyper analyzing everything, but it is fun when you do that, I think, and you kind of pick up all these little Easter eggs. I absolutely loved it. It is a 5-star read for me. I think the first time I read it, I rated it a 4-star, but on the reread, I feel like it has to be a 5-star. Just, there are no plot holes. The characters are amazing. There are insane plot twists. It just, everything like adds up so, so well. And there's also a little kind of trickle of romance in there, which I just, you know, I live for in it. So I absolutely love this. If you're intimidated to start Brandon Sanderson, I promise you don't have to be. He is quite easy to understand once you kind of grasp the concept of his worlds, because a lot of his books are set in the same world, so you're just following different characters. So once you kind of grasp the concept of his political system and magic system, it's not too hard to follow. If you're kind of scared about it, I do recommend starting with the audiobook. That is what I did originally. I kind of listened to the first few chapters on audiobook, and sometimes I feel like that just helps you understand a new fantasy world a little bit better. So those are kind of my tips. Also, always look in the back, because there is usually like a glossary kind of thing that helps you understand all the, I don't know, magic references and kind of classes of people, and you know, just different like what a lurcher is and all that kind of stuff. It helps you kind of understand things a little bit better. But yes, amazing. I highly, highly recommend it. I'm over at my bookshelf because I thought we would pick my next read and we'd go through some options. So first of all, we have this book that was sent to me by Penguin from the author. I don't know if this is out yet, but she sent me a little note with it as well, which is just the cutest thing. I believe this is Psyche. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. But this is a Greek mythology inspired fantasy, which immediately just grasps my interests. I love good Greek mythology fantasies, and I believe this also is like has some romance. So it's a Greek mythology romantasy, which just sounds so cool. I would absolutely love to read this. I'm very much leaning towards it. And it's also only like just over 300 pages. So like it's a good little quick read. The cover is absolutely stunning. I feel like I'm very much leaning towards this one. The other option we have is Of Jade and Dragons. This is the ARC edition from Penguin Books. Again, they've just been spoiling me recently. This is a YA fantasy, and it is the first in a series. This is an Asian mythology inspired fantasy. So we've got a lot of like mythologies going on here, which I love. If I don't read this one now, I definitely will be reading this in like probably my next vlog. And then just to stick with the theme, because apparently we're loving mythologies at the moment, we have The Jazzed Air, which is an Egyptian mythology inspired fantasy romance. This has been on my TBR for quite a while, and for some reason I just haven't gravitated towards it, but I am really curious about like the Egyptian side of things. Like obviously Egyptian mythology really, really interests me, and I find it quite fascinating. So I would like to read it for that reason, but I don't know why. I just haven't been gravitating towards it. I definitely want to read it within this month or next month, like very, very soon. If I can tell you whether it's worth it or not. But these are my kind of 3 options at the moment. But I think I'm gravitating towards this one. I feel like we're gonna go Psyche. It just seems so cool, and I love like when it's a new book and I can just put it out for you guys. Like it's something new that you haven't heard of. I love talking about books like that. So I think we'll go with that one, and I'll be reading the other ones very, very soon, I am sure. So I'm gonna sit down and start reading this, I think. It's just, oh my gosh, it's one of those like matte covers as well. Just, it feels nice. Anyway, let's start this. It is obviously nighttime. I have only kind of sat down, I have only actually sat down in the past like hour and started reading this because I got quite busy, and I'm already like 100 pages through. It's very easy to read, which I honestly didn't expect. I kind of expected it to be a little bit of a push through. Like I felt like it would kind of be a bit hard to get into, and once I got into it I'd be okay, but it is surprisingly easy to read. I will say, I think I said before that this is Greek mythology. I was mistaken. I'm pretty sure it's Roman mythology, because we're talking about Venus, and Venus is the Roman name for the goddess of love, and Aphrodite is the Greek name. So they're talking about Venus, so I'm assuming we're doing Roman mythology now. I don't know why I thought Greek. Silly me. I thought I'd read you a little bit of the back just to give you an understanding of it, because I'm just not very good at explaining this kind of vibe in a book. Psyche has always been different. Fair is Venus, the goddess of love, and with the hard-won ability to save lives of those of mortal blood. When she unwittingly provokes Venus, she and her sisters lose everything. Psyche must find a way to make amends and support her family. Befriended by an old woman, Psyche finds herself irresistibly drawn to her young friend, Ambrose. But neither is what they seem, for Psyche has fallen in love with a man whose face she is forbidden to see. After disobeying this injunction, she must risk everything to try and save him, even if that means traveling down to the shadow underworld to face Proserpina, Queen of the Dead. I do not know if I pronounced that name right, but anyway. The way to the realm of the dead is easy. A thrust of a sword, a sudden fall, a careless bite of toadstool, and the soul is sucked away. It is the return journey that is difficult. Like, it just sounds so good, and honestly, it is so addictive so far. I will say this seems quite historically accurate, but in the sense that some of the themes they're talking about are quite brutal and quite just honest. So I definitely would go in knowing that the kind of themes I'm talking about is just basically misogynist men using women as a form of like bartering to kind of get their wealth back, all that kind of stuff. Like, just women are treated like objects rather than people with souls, and that definitely gets on my nerves a lot. Obviously this is very much talking about like them overcoming that challenge, but like seeing how these men treat women is just something that really gets me the wrong way. It actually makes me so mad. I'm kind of looking past that because I've got a feeling our main protagonist is going to overcome that. She's definitely given qualities of a very strong female protagonist. I'm actually really liking it. It's very unique writing style, I will say that. It's kind of giving like Song of Achilles, a bit of Divine Rivals. I feel like almost a bit of a gothic like fantasy in a way, and also a little bit cozy, but some darker themes thrown in there, if that makes sense. When I say dark themes, it's not like a dark romance, just heavy topics. It's actually really good. I'm really enjoying it so far. Just as I said, please look up trigger warnings before going in, because I would not have guessed that this would have such heavy topics. Anyway, I am going to keep reading. Hopefully I'm gonna look up right now if this book is out or not. Yes, it is. It was published, I believe, on May 28th, so very recently. I'll keep you updated. It is the next day. I am halfway through this, maybe just over. I'm 162 pages in. It is very addictive, but I will say it's definitely more giving the vibe of like a storytelling kind of book rather than like you're immersed in the world, if that makes sense. It feels like someone's telling you a fantastical story. It's like a narrative, which I do really like, and it's very much outside my comfort zone. I don't usually read kind of fantasies like this, and I'm very happy that I did pick it up. It's very beautifully written. There are so many like beautiful lines in this that I probably should have annotated it, honestly. But as I said before, there are a few kind of darker, more sensitive topics that are explored, and I definitely recommend looking them up before going in, just in case that's something that triggers you. But yeah, it's a very kind of different vibe than I was expecting. I kind of was expecting a full-blown romantasy, but it is very much more of like a narrative romantic fantasy, if that makes sense. I hope it does. I don't have too much to update on. It is quite slow moving, but I'm easily reading it. Like, I'm speeding through it. Like, I haven't been reading this for very long. Yeah, it's very easy to read, even though it's a kind of more contemporary narrative, which I didn't expect. As I said, it kind of feels like someone's telling you a story, and I'm very much enjoying it. Whilst this is a completely different vibe than I thought it was going to be, I'm still like having a really good time reading it, which is good. I just finished my last book of this reading vlog, so I thought we'd do a little bit of a wrap up, a little overview of what we read. So first of all, I finished the Zodiac Academy. I started and finished the Zodiac Academy. Very mixed feelings about this one. It was quite addictive, so I'll give it that, but the rest I'm not living for, if I'm going to be completely honest. I didn't love any of the characters. I didn't love any of the tropes in it, and whilst I do love a good magic school, it just wasn't hitting for me. So we gave that one a 2.5 stars. I then read Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. Easily the best read of this reading vlog. This was technically a reread, but there was so much I missed on my first read that I kind of felt like I was reading it for the first time. Plot twists in this are just insane. The world building is just insane. Brandon Sanderson is like an absolute master at building a fantasy world. I'm so excited to continue this series and just continue his world, get more immersed in it. Highly recommend starting it. It is not as an intimidating read as it looks, and as you've heard, it's really so fun. I then read Psyche by Kate Forsyth. Really enjoyed this one. I will say it felt a lot more like a narrative rather than like an immersive fantasy world, but still really enjoyed it and so happy that I got to it. I'm still unsure of a rating. I think I'm leaning towards a 4 stars for this one, but it's a kind of very conflicting. There are a lot of heavy topics in this that I didn't really expect there to be, and I do think you should probably look up trigger warnings before you read this, but nothing too serious. But I did really enjoy this one, very unexpectedly. So that was everything we read in this reading vlog. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you very soon for my next one. Thank you for watching again.